Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the ESS Finance Subcommittee meeting. We will get started. Looks like there's a few of us here and a few that will not be here. First on the agenda is the September 11th, 2025 summary of subcommittee action. Did everyone have a chance to review that? Does anyone see anything that needs corrected? If we don't have any additions or corrections, would I have a motion to approve?
This is Sherry. I'll move to approve.
Okay, Geraldine and I'll second.
Thank you. A first by Sherry, a second by Geraldine. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next on the agenda is the financial reports. So accounts receivable update.
Hi, it's Lisa. I'm going to jump in here. American Escrow, that was an accidental chargeback to us. They have something on their account called Positive Pay where they have to approve any transactions that go through, and it was not approved on time, or it was rejected. So we're waiting on a check from them. Auto was a timeout on USA ePay. That happens on occasion. They have actually paid us, so we're good there. And we are waiting on a check from Warren County because they were double paid for a transaction. So I think we're in good shape there. Any questions?
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks.
Next is October
And
summary.
Susan has joined.
Welcome, Susan. Next on the agenda is the October summary of September ESS payments for our approval. Who's next?
Okay. Accounts payable for the month of September. There's a few things highlighted here that you don't normally see month to month. Jamie Stargell from Adams County's mileage for the ESS coordinating meeting from August 19th for $131.60. And then also this $2,240 is the, I believe, third payment to Kelly Wallace for consulting services for the VM migration. And then also the 3802, that third Oasis payment was to just catch up on benefits. And this will be the last invoice that you see from Oasis. Credit card expenditures, the 6419 was to get a portable hard drive for Kristen. She downloads all of our meeting videos and uploads them to the ILR site, and it takes a lot of space on her computer. And she was just really having issues downloading and uploading it timely. So this hard drive should help her tremendously. If there's no questions, I'd ask for your approval of the finance reports.
Thanks, Samantha. Does anyone have any questions? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve.
This is Susan Smith. I can make the motion.
Thank you, Susan. I have a first by Susan. Do I have a second?
This is Sherry. I can second.
Thank you, Sherry. Any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next on the agenda is October Fund 255 reimbursement invoice for our approval.
The October 1st invoice is for the amount of $49,616.25. This is for the 3 payroll invoices for the month of September. These funds come from the $1 fee that is attached to every document recorded in the state of Iowa. I'd ask for your acceptance and approval to submit this to the state treasurer's office.
Thank you, Samantha. Does anybody have any questions? Otherwise, I'll look for a motion to approve.
This is Geraldine. I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Geraldine. Do I have a second? I can second that. So we have a motion or a first by Geraldine, a second by me to approve the reimbursement invoice. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And then it looks like we have the August 2025 financial reports.
The Bankers Trust settlement account opened with a beginning balance of $0 and ended with a balance of $0. The account was successfully reconciled for the month of August. The money market sweep account opened with a beginning balance of $1,258,400.24 and ended with a balance of $1,266,668.26. Interest earned during the month was $2,880.96. As you can see, this is the second month that our interest is higher than what we were seeing when we first started the account at 3.04%. And the reconciliation for the money market sweep account. And the drawdown reconciliation with a cleared balance of $95,940. Budgeted only profit and loss for August. Budgeted income came in at $158,088.15. With budgeted expenses at $236,429.49. With a negative net income of $78,341.34. Revolving income came in at $3,715,978.93 with a total gross profit of $3,874,067.08. Revolving expenses were $3,707,414.98 with total expenses at $3,955,489.09 with a total net income of negative $81,422.01. August 2024 to 2005 comparison. August of 2024, we didn't have that money market account set up yet, so that would be the $100 increase for 2025 with $2,880.96. The $2,000 highlighted here in 2024, this was income from the ILR Deputies Conference registration. In 2005, we did not hold that conference. Point of sale fee income was down a little bit for August. Prior this year, we were seeing this well exceed expectations and above 2024. August 2025 did fall a little bit. And ESUB fee income is up 11.7% for 2025. MOU, we did not have the MOU fee from Iowa County Recorders Association for the month of August 2025, but this was still in place in 2024. Fund 255 reimbursement is up 9.8% compared to 2024, with about $4,000 extra, with gross profit up 8.5%. The 106.37 highlighted here was for office supplies. We ordered some paper and some paper clips during the month. The 1,165.49 highlighted here was just expenses for that ILR deputies conference, which we did not hold in 2025. The $625 from 2024 was for PRIA membership. We also renewed that membership in 2025. It just hit in a different month. And the $1,999.51 was for the in-person PRIA conference reimbursement. Negative 100% difference for the policy coordinator. We had a full-time policy coordinator in 2024, but currently that position is vacant. The $11,476.08 was to move the DB2 license back to budgeted expenses. This was approved during both meetings in August. The development team. So we lost our previous technical lead, I think back in May. So that would leave the technical support and development position vacant, as that position she did take on the technical lead position, and then also some medical leave here. The senior developer does have an increase. She was part-time in 2024, but did move back to full-time earlier this year. For file redaction services, in 2024, Tyler had a cyber event. So that would be why we had no expenses for forward file redaction in 2024, but they are back up and running. Technical consulting, this is for Kelly Wallace with the VM migration. The difference in the data center and hosting services, we were still catching up from their billing issues in 2024. That's why that negative $3,000 is in, but they are back to billing pretty much normally. We're still having some issues month to month, but it's not double billing like we were seeing in 24 for a while. Budgeted expenses were up 7.4% for 2025, with net income down 5.4%. Balance sheet, the BT settlement account was $630,929.17. This account actually has a zero balance at all times. This is the amount of unreconciled transactions in the accounting software. The BT money market sweep account as of August 31st at $1,266,368.26. With total assets and liabilities at $2,809,390.05. Journal entries for the month of August. These mostly are just the transfer of money in and out of the BT settlement account and money market sweep account. And then down below, you will see the movement of the DB2 expense back to the P&L. And then the recorded depreciation expense for the month of August. The credit card opened with a balance of $2,458.11 and ended with a balance of $2,751.14. The account was successfully reconciled. The Fund 255 account opened with the beginning balance of $166,760.99 and ended with a balance of $172,314.02. With receipts of $49,616.25. This does match the Fund 255 reimbursement invoice approved earlier. You will notice that there's no interest for the month of August. They had some switching of duties at the state treasurer's office, and this was actually not reconciled until the first day of September. So you will see double interest next month on the reconciliation. And the reconciliation for the Fund 255 account with a cleared balance of $172,314.02. In profit and loss for the month of August with a net income of $5,553.03. And the balance sheet for the Fund 255 account with total assets and liabilities at $172,314.02. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Samantha. I really appreciate your explanation. Does anyone have any questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve?
This is Sherry. I can move to approve. I appreciate the explanation, Samantha. You do a great job.
This is Susan Smith. I can second that.
Thank you. I have a motion by Sherry and a second by Susan. Any additional discussions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nay. Motion carries. Next, we have the ESS Financial and Strategic Review discussion with the September metrics review.
This is Phil. I'll jump in here. So a question for Samantha. Do we have the budget memo
Yeah.
in the packet? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you. So let me just start with I go back to the chart just to make sure we cover that. But and this is described a little bit more in more detail in the memo. But once again, the month of September exceeded expectations, basically being equivalent to 2021 levels in each submission. This is very good for the P&L statement and the balance sheet. We can, I guess I would say this is less surprising than it was earlier. We've seen the Fed make an adjustment in the interest rate. We observed that because of the drop in mortgage interest rates, though it is not back to the previous levels, which were very low historically, still that change does seem to be having an impact in terms of encouraging people to do refinancing to reduce their monthly payments and whatever the cause is. We're seeing more recording activity now, even though you might not characterize the real estate market as ideal or as robust as it may have been previously, there is activity happening. And so, that is reflected in the chart. I would honestly hesitate to make a prediction about what the last quarter is going to look like. I think anecdotally, Lisa would share, just in observing submission activity, that the numbers still appear to be carrying forward and looking pretty good for the month of October. And we'll see how it goes. There is historically a drop off in November and December, and I would not be surprised if that happens. But if the Fed were to make another adjustment at their next meeting, we may be surprised at end of year activity. So, what we've experienced is we are seeing an accumulation of assets. So, if you look at the totality of 2025. We've been kind of holding the line on expenditures. We've left a significant position vacant for a good share of the year. I think we continue to be mindful of our expenses as we go forward, and combined with that, we've had a higher than expected level of income that has been persisted through most of the year. And those two things combined means that we've been accumulating resources and not losing resources in the overall system. And we have not taken the opportunity to make any big expenditures or do anything special during this period. And as reflected in the memo that is in your packet, basically what our intention would be is to kind of move those off of the P&L from the standpoint of the bank account, the operating account or the settlement account, and move those into reserve funds. And when we do that, we'll probably put a fairly sizable chunk of that into the software development fund, and then we would be in a position to make some investments in software development, and those are choices that will have to be made by you and by the ESS coordinating committee. So if you want to switch back to the memo here real quick, Samantha. So generally what I've tried to do is give you an interim update. I'm not making any specific budget recommendations today. We would ordinarily do that in November, and that is still the plan. But to just give you a glimpse into the future, what we might be considering in the next meeting, we will take into account that the net effect of our spending pattern and the increased incomes gives us a net income of approaching $300,000 for the year. And that is an increase over our August estimate, and we'll just have to see, how October looks, and then we can make some decisions. So what you can expect, I think, is that when we get to the November meeting, obviously we're going to be presenting a budget amendment for the end of calendar year 2025. It's going to be mostly related to adjustments from budget to actual. But there are a couple of things that we may do, particularly as we look at the month of December. I'll talk about that in just a minute. But something that I think you can count on is that there'll be a recommendation for you and the ESS committee to actually recognize that income and to move funds into the reserve account. Then, in addition to that, we can begin to have a more serious conversation about, well, how are we going to use that money? What should be the things that we do? One of the things that I would say would be at the top of my list of recommendations is to fill the third developer position. We've been running very thin, and in terms of sort of forward-looking development work, that just basically isn't happening right now. Combination of Muna, our technical lead, being out for some time on medical leave, and the fact that you know the reality is that it's really mostly support work. There are two things really happening: support for the whole system, and then working with service providers who still have not completed the migration over to the submission API. And then we still have at least a stated goal of moving forward with the county upload API update, which is done. But we only really have one service provider that has done any serious development work or testing on that. And most of the other local service providers have not really tackled it in any significant degree. And so the support work and the technical assistance work to the local service providers as they make the migration to the API basically has consumed the time of our two developers. And for anybody who wants us to be a little bit more forward-looking, doing updates, making enhancements to the website, that really just hasn't been happening because of the limits of our development team. And I'll be honest with you and say, even filling that third position, it doesn't put us in a strong position to be developing anything new or creative. I think one of the reasons we have argued for additional resources as a part of the fee policy proposal is that they're really needed to do the development work as much as anything else that we do. So we'll have to grapple with that as we look ahead to the 2026 budget. Obviously, what happens in the legislature with the bill will have a big impact on things that we have to do and things that we will not be able to do or be able to do depending on what the outcome of that is. I've identified some bullet points here about the need for things that we need in the category of development. I would have to say at the top of the list at this moment in time is that we're looking at going on 6-7 years now since the front door or the WordPress pages, the landing pages for the Avalanche Records website have been updated. And they're beginning to look like they're 6 or 7 years old. And there is some functionality that is missing or is not working as well as we want. So I want you to be aware that with Kristen's assistance, we're going to be having conversations, gathering information about what changes we want to make in the WordPress site. And when we have completed that process, that would probably be converted into some type of RFP or RFQ that we would bring to the ESS coordinating committee for approval, and then we go through a procurement process to actually hire an outside development firm to assist us with updating those WordPress pages. Our core applications, the e-submission service and the search application are working. I'm not saying we don't have a hiccup now and again, but there are a lot of things that we would like to do there, but the core functionality is working, and so that's the reason changes there are not necessarily at the top of the list. Then there are some things that are incorporated into the draft legislation that I would characterize that, depending on whether they're approved or not, and I'm not taking a position, one way or another about whether they should be or should not be, but if they are, that is going to require development work. It means that there would be a change in the code that says you have to do this, or it might say you have to do it this way. And anything like that, such as if they were to approve the provisions relating to the conversion of the Back to Blue program from a redaction program to a shielding program, that would require real work. It is very substantive, and would have an impact on the budget, not only from a resource perspective for development work, but day-to-day operations. The management of a shielding program, the intake, the changes, the operation, the maintenance of it is also very substantive in my opinion. So it's kind of a combination of, depending on what is approved in the legislature, some things will be mandated that we do development work on, and then some things will actually have an impact on our day-to-day operations that we'll have to figure out how to budget for or not. Then after those two things, which I would say probably would have to be the two top priorities of things that we have to do, then we can begin to look at some of those optional things. One of them might be the development of the notification system that the association has talked about for more than 2 years now. There has been a lot of interest, and I'll just share anecdotally from individual counties who would like to have some type of online registration renewal system for things that they do outside of the recording process. And I can report that we did have a meeting between our development team and several other members of our team with the Lynn County technical team earlier this week to talk about how we can leverage the work that they have done to make some type of a multi-tenant system that could operate on the ILR platform. So we talked about some of the mechanics of how we're going to ask them to share some of that information and knowledge with us. At the same time, I also need to report that Lynn County is actually considering switching to a different service. So even though they would be sharing knowledge about the application they developed, it's very possible that they may be switching systems in the not too distant future. So I'm a little bit up in the air about that, but that doesn't negate the value of the work that they did that we might be able to leverage. So that's on the list. And then, there are a number of things that we really would like to do to the search application, the indexing system, and even e-submission that we're just not in a position to do at this point in time. So those are some of the choices that we will be making. And I guess I would just say the reason why I would put a priority in the budget amendment, probably beginning in December and then 2026, is that there's a lot of development work that needs to be done. The last note there in the memo is obviously there is a plan to identify a new lead administrator with my departure in the spring of 2026. And, that will be a budget issue. And I'm not making a political statement here or not, but you're probably going to have to spend more for that position than what you are spending for me, just based on my knowledge of the scope of work that's involved. So, you and the ESS coordinating committee will get to make all of those decisions. So this is intended just as a preview for you to be thinking about as we prepare for the November meeting. So I'll stop there. Maybe I may have a few additional comments, but let me see if you have any questions first.
Thank you, Phil. Does anyone have any questions for Phil?
Okay, so no action item. It was just there. This is food for thought. A couple other comments I would make is that we have completed the essential elements of our transition from our previous employment organization service provider from Paychecks to Oasis to the company called Connectify. We've actually administered the very first payroll through that system, which was administered successfully. The other day, we had a meeting related to the migration of the employees from the Paychex version of the 401k program. Connectify has a partnership with a different 401k plan, and we are in the process of getting the employees migrated over to that system. We are in the process of, or have nearly completed the process of making sure we're getting connected to certain supporting services through Connectify. An example would be the E-Verify program, which seems to be in the news a lot lately, at least here in the Des Moines area. So we're going to be making sure that we have those resources available to us to use in making future employment decisions. And there are a number of other details that we still have to, to finalize and solidify. But the transition is going well, and I would want you to know that is happening, and it is so far a very successful transition. My observation and opinion is that I've been very impressed with the dedication that the Connectify team has demonstrated to facilitate a smooth transition. They've really put some effort into it. They're making us work to make sure that we're answering their questions and making sure that we're doing things right. So that's nearly done. The last comment I want to make before you adjourn today is, and I don't know if you should go back to it or not, but in the P&L statement, you saw a fairly big negative number, that there's a reason for that. One of them is that we actually have received invoices and are receiving later invoices from the service providers than we ordinarily would, and so the expense for the local maintenance is expected, and it ordinarily would have probably occurred in July, but there were delays, not on our part, but in terms of just getting the mechanics of their invoices to us and the new process to us done in a timely way. And then obviously, monthly depreciation is still a factor. So when you combine those two things, you're going to have a month where you have a big negative number because your distribution or your expenditure is just naturally going to be higher than what your income is. And that's all part of the plan. So I don't want anybody to be panicking about seeing that negative number. You're going to see it again in January and February, because when the new cycle of relationships with the local service providers begins in January, there will be another round of invoices, another round of cost sharing credits, and we're just going to have to work our way through that. But the timing is going to be different, so you're going to see it more frequently this cycle than you have in the past, but it's something that you actually should expect. The last thing I want to just mention is, and we don't need to take time to do it today, but we did receive some questions prior to this meeting about certain expenditures and things like that. And, sometimes when you work at something and you do it repeatedly, you sort of assume that everybody understands and knows how the system works. Understandable that fresh eyes raise questions about, credit card expenses. What do we use it for? How do we document that? The financial reports in terms of, publishing the bank statement, things like that. Totally okay and normal for people to say, why do you do it that way? And should we do it a little bit differently? And so, I'm not going to ask you to have that discussion today. And it might be hard to do that in November because we'll have a fairly full agenda. But I would just say to the members of the subcommittee, if you want to do a refresher of how we do things and why we do it in a certain way, let's have that discussion. There's nothing that says that we have to do things the same way. And so there are reasons why we do certain things the way we do, but that doesn't mean there can't be some adjustment or change. And I'm going to just use one example of something that is not visible to you, but is happening behind the scenes. And that is that the service that we acquire through Intuit for our QuickBooks software is not limited to just the software itself, but it is also our remote management system so that we can manage this without having the software sit on a server in our office. It's one of those things that we do to make sure that you have independence as an organization and are not dependent on a company like mine to manage everything. So you can administer the accounting system basically from anywhere in the world. So one of the things that goes along with that is the storage of financial files. So every month we generate lots of reports that are used to import information in those QuickBooks systems. Some of them are just reports that we keep as a cross-reference because the auditor might have a question about something in the future. And one of the other things that we store remotely in that system in an organized way for each fiscal year and each month is digitized versions of every receipt that we have for any expenditure we make, whether it is by a credit card or whether we issue a payment through Bankers Trust. All of that is organized, it is documented, and it's something that we are prepared, for example, to, if an auditor has a question and they want to see a receipt, we have all that information. We don't burden you with all of that paperwork, so to speak, in every meeting, but you need to know that it does exist. And because of that, we can answer pretty much every question you have about what was that expenditure for and why did you spend the money for? So anyway, the big picture is do not feel like we're in a situation where we do this because we've always done it that way. We do things because there are reasons why we do it that way, but it doesn't mean that you can't review them, and it doesn't mean that they can't be adjusted. So just keep that in mind, and maybe when we have a lighter agenda in a future month, possibly December, we can kind of go through all of that. So I'd say to the members of the subcommittee, if you have any questions or interested areas that you say, well, I wonder, I'd like to be reminded of that, or I wonder why we do it that way, compile them, bring them together, communicate whatever you have to Samantha, and maybe we can include that in a future presentation. Otherwise, we really appreciate the work that you do, and we do count on you as members of the Finance Subcommittee to be the watchdog, the overseer of what we're doing to make sure that we're doing everything right. So that's my comment for the month. And I just want to say thank you to you and hope you have a good rest of October. Happy Halloween.
Hey, Sherry, it's Lisa. You said it's over here too. Was that you talking about E-Verify, that's a hot topic of conversation?
Yeah, when Phil brought up the news, that it's on the news out your way, it's on the news out here too.
Oh, yeah.
Big talk about it, like every day. So it's not regionalized to Des Moines.
The discussion of the superintendent or of E-Verify?
Kind of both.
Oh, both, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Does anyone have anyone else or anything else to talk about? I appreciate you giving us some homework and things to think about, Phil. So we'll look forward to talking to that even in person, maybe when we meet. That might be a good time to discuss some things. So
We're ready.
All right.
Okay.
Susan said thank you to the ILR team.
Bye
Do I
bye,
need a
everybody.
motion?
Yeah,
Be all-
you
we
can
don't need a
just
motion.
declare it. Just
Perfect.
declare it.
Be
All
well.
right. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.